Hey friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Mandy, the Handmade Homeschooler, and we're talking about high school today. And more specifically, high school math, which is the bane of my existence. I was terrible at high school math, and high school math is the one thing that almost kept me from homeschooling entirely. I was so worried. My kids were little when we decided to homeschool, but the fear of getting to high school level math is what almost stopped me from homeschooling completely. So how did I tackle the fear of homeschool math? That is such a loaded question, but I had no reason to be afraid, thankfully. And I decided to push forward, even though I had no idea how I was going to do it. I decided to push forward, and then I found this wonderful, wonderful tool to help me. And I am so eternally grateful to this company, just because it took that fear away from me and I was able to confidently go forward in homeschooling. So I've been using teaching textbooks almost since the very beginning of our homeschool journey. So back when they had the actual books in the CDs and things like that, we've been using teaching textbooks since that era. We are not new to teaching textbooks. I have used them for a very long time and I plan on using them all the way through. They are the only company that I have never changed or switched around or anything like that, and I am like hardline on we will not deviate from teaching textbooks. And there's a couple reasons for that, and high school math is one of the biggest reasons for that right there, is high school math. My kids have done so beautifully with teaching textbooks. There's no brain dumping. They're great about reviewing new concepts and old concepts in the beginning of the year, so I don't have to worry about them forgetting last year's math because they weave the previous year's math into the new year. So it has made my life so much easier for that. They even have a free trial. Highly recommend the free trial. Take advantage of that free trial. That's what I did when I was looking at math curriculum. I had my kids do the free trial. They loved it. And my youngest was like over the moon excited about it. He was like, I have to do, he wasn't even old enough to do teaching textbooks, and he was jumping up and down to do teaching textbooks all the time. So teaching textbooks is not a subscription, but it's an enrollment. So you have like an enrollment period by when you actually purchase it. Like you're going to tell them when you're going to start, and then they will tell you how long you will have that enrollment for. Now don't worry about that timeline at all. It is plenty of time to complete the entire year curriculum. And you can even pause it. So like when my son went into the hospital for several weeks a couple years ago, we were able to pause his enrollment so he didn't lose that time. And then when he got out of the hospital, we came back, unpaused it, and he was able to finish out his school year. And it was plenty of time. Like we did not lose any days. So what I want to talk to you today about is the benefits of doing high school math with teaching textbooks, because this is what enabled me to homeschool confidently. And this is a topic that is very close to my heart, because if not for this, I might have caved and put my kids in public high school because I was terrified. I knew I couldn't do it. Like there's some, I think we all know our limits as parents, right? Like you know what you can teach confidently. I know what I can teach confidently. Math is not one of those things. Chemistry is another one, but that's because it's very math heavy. I knew for a fact I could not teach this. I could not teach this subject, and I was really scared. I was really scared to teach it. And a lot of my friends, a lot of my homeschool friends, when their kids got to 9th grade, put them back in public high school because of math and chemistry and things like that, because they did not have the confidence to teach. I did not want to be one of those parents. I said to myself, there has to be a way. Like there has to be a way to teach all the way through. I know other parents have done it, and I know that they didn't have, a degree in mathematics. So how did they do this? So I knew there had to be a way, and teaching textbooks was that way for me. And I'm so thankful to them for that. So this year, my senior is taking pre-calculus. I did not take anything past Algebra 2 in high school, and let's just say I was on the struggle bus with that one. So when he got to pre-calculus this year, I'm looking at that going, there ain't no way. But he's doing fine. Like, he's passing the class. The greatest thing about this is not only is he passing the class and doing fine in it, but I don't have to do a thing. Like, this is totally independent. He is doing this all on his own with teaching textbooks. Teaching textbooks will take your child and teach them the lesson just like a teacher would. Give them problems during the practice session that won't count against them if they get it wrong. But they give them like practice problems during the time that they're explaining the entire lesson to them. And they'll do these practice problems to help them understand what's being taught to them. And then it will launch into the actual assignment. And then they'll have, maybe 20 questions, depending on the age of the child and what the lesson is. They'll launch into a series of assignment questions, and then they'll do those. And if they get them wrong and they have a bad grade, the best thing about it is there's a parent portal that you can go in and you can take all of those questions, delete them, and have them redo them for extra practice. I do this all the time, not to manipulate my child's grade, but to help him get extra practice, which is great because that has been one of the things that has helped him understand his lessons over the years more than anything else, is the extra practice of me going in and maybe deleting a lesson he didn't do well on and having him do it again. And if he still does bad, having him do it again. And if he's not understanding the material, then there is a line that you can call and you can talk to them and they will talk you through the whole thing and they will make sure that you understand it. The crazy thing is I've never had to call that line. Now, we've had to do things for extra practice, especially with higher level math. We've had to do extra practice, but we have never even had to call that line, which is great. But it's always in my back pocket and I know that it's there. I have an entire team behind me, and that's my next point, is I'm not alone with teaching textbooks. Just because I don't have a live class for him to do does not mean that I'm on my own. I have a whole team of people behind me helping me, and I still don't have to do anything. And it's one less worry for me as a parent because it's all done. Higher level math can be kind of scary. When they start throwing letters into it, that's usually about the time where I'm done and I don't know how to teach it anymore. I haven't done algebra in 25 plus years, so give me a break. But when they start throwing letters into algebra and things like that, that's usually about the time where I don't know how to teach it anymore and I'm not going to be much help. But one of the things that I can do is I can watch the lesson with him and we can try to learn it together if he's struggling. So I can go in there and I can rewatch any of those lessons at any time, learn it, and then help him understand it once I get it. But again, there's always a team behind me, so I don't even have to do that. So even if I don't understand it, I can just, get a hold of teaching textbooks and they're gonna help me. So there is a dedicated team behind me. I'm never on my own. Another thing is you can go at your own pace, which I wish I was able to do this in high school. When you're in public school, you have to go at the pace of everybody else. And even if you don't understand something, you're gonna get left in the dust because you gotta keep up with everybody else. There is no individual program here. So one of the great things about teaching textbooks is, yes, you have an enrollment period, but you have plenty of time in that enrollment period. You can go at your own pace, and I feel like that would have been so great for me because I needed extra time for some of these concepts. And we do this with both of my kids. Sometimes they need extra time for a lesson. I have one child, my youngest, who is like a little math whiz and he just flies. And that's great for him. That is his pace. But my oldest, he's kind of more like me. He's not really the greatest at math, but he does fantastic with teaching textbooks because he can take his time. And if he doesn't understand a concept, he can go back in. I can reset that lesson for him and he can go back in and redo that lesson until he gets it. So I feel like there is so much more that he can learn that way because he can take all the time that he needs. The auto grading feature has been a lifesaver for me because it's one less thing I need to grade, one less thing I need to keep track of, and I can just print it out and put it in a file. I have like a dedicated file for transcript papers and things like that, and I just put that right in their transcripts, and everything's great. So I don't have to worry about that. I can just take the grade that's on there and put it right on his transcript, and then I print out the grade book every single year and I put it in his file, and I don't have to worry about it. Like it's done and over with. I don't have to think about it, and then we're ready for the next year. So auto grading is great, and I feel like nobody else does auto grading as well as teaching textbooks. So another thing I love is the hints. I love that they offer hints because my kids probably would get a lot more problems wrong if they did not have that hint feature. And I don't know of any other math company that does the hints as well as teaching textbooks. So if they need it, they can go in and they can get a hint for a problem that might be really hard or might have extra steps and things like that. They'll go in and they'll take the hint, and that will show them, without giving them the answer, it just gives them a little bit of help to help them get the right answer. Teaching textbooks has been great for the SATs. So my oldest, he took his SATs over the summer, right after he was done with his last thing of teaching textbooks. And it was great for teaching him the concepts that were on that exam. And it's also been great for the end of year testing. We are in a state that has to do the end of year testing for homeschoolers. Now, we don't have to turn them in or anything, but we do have to have them on file. It's just one of those state law type things. My kids have done amazing every year. And that's probably the biggest question I get with teaching textbooks is, how well do your kids test at the end of the year? They do very well. The math section never gives them any problems. They usually know everything that is in the math section when they take their end of year exams. So testing has done very well with both of my kids. I don't have to even worry about it because they're doing so well with teaching textbooks. So another thing that is very helpful is the step-by-step solutions. So if my child gets something wrong, either one of them, if they get a problem wrong, there is a step-by-step solution that shows them how to get the answer. So it's not just going to tell them that the problem is wrong or tell them what the answer is. Teaching textbooks actually gives them a breakdown explanation of how to get the answer right and how they got to that right answer. That's honestly one of the best things about teaching textbooks, is it's not going to leave them hanging. So it's not like a worksheet that just has the answers in the back. This has a full breakdown of explanation, and it will show them what they did wrong. So they can go back in that explanation and they can see where they might have had a number off, or a decimal point was wrong, or maybe a fraction was upside down. Whatever it may be, they can go in and they can find that, and they can kind of work backwards and fix their problem if they need to. And always remember, there is a helpline for teaching textbooks. So if you ever get stuck and none of these other things are working, maybe the hints aren't working, maybe the step-by-step explanation isn't working, call the helpline. They're there. You have a whole team of people dedicated to help you with high school math. You are not on your own. None of us is alone in this journey, and teaching textbooks will hold your hand through the whole thing. So because I had all of these things, I felt more than capable of teaching my son high school math without actually having to teach it. So my kids are going to do math today, and I'm not even going to lift a finger. I am going to sit back and probably look at another curriculum book to teach them later on in the day. So this has been such a worry-free thing for me. This has changed my entire view of homeschooling, because there are just some things that are hard to teach. So unless you're a subject matter expert in these areas, it can be really nerve-wracking. And I noticed that a lot of times the backlash is with things like this, and they're like, well, you didn't go to school for this. You didn't go to school for mathematics. How are you teaching high school math? You can't tell me that your kids are learning anything. And it's like, well, I don't have to be a subject matter expert. I don't have to have a degree in that subject, because I don't have to have a degree at all, actually, but I don't have to be a subject matter expert in this area because I have a whole team dedicated to helping me. I have teaching textbooks, and they're going to teach it to my child, and I don't have to lift a finger. I don't even have to grade it. All I have to do is record the grade at the end of the year and call the helpline if I need help. I am just so thankful for teaching textbooks, because they saved me from possibly breaking down and sending my kid to public high school because I couldn't teach math. And it really has revolutionized some of these subjects for us. You know, we no longer have to teach calculus or geometry or algebra. They do it for us. They break it down and they do it for us. They even have higher level math in here, which is fantastic. So huge thank you to Teaching Textbooks. They have made homeschooling so much easier for us parents, and I'm taking advantage of every bit of it. All right, guys, I will see you in the next video. I hope this helps you with high school math. If you need high school math help, I got you. There is a link down below in the description for you. There is so much positive reinforcement in Teaching Textbooks, and I think your kids are gonna love it. I know so many families love Teaching Textbooks. We are huge fans of them, and I'm gonna use them until graduation. I will see you guys in the next video. I hope you have a great rest of your day and happy homeschooling.